So again, click and drag, let go, and then you can control the height. And that's if you manually do it. What you can also do is once you created it, you can do it here, or you can go to the modify panel. This is the second panel that looks actually the panel we're going to spend most of our time in. Turn on wireframe. So you can see that my box has only one face on each side, and there's a length, width, and height here. So this is important. We need to make sure that we have the same units as Unity. In Unity, 1 meter is 1 unit. So we need to make sure we're the same here. So we're going to go to Customize, Unit Setup. Customize on the top, Units Setup. Make sure we're on Metric for meters. And then go to System Unit Setup. And make sure 1 unit is 1 meter. Hit OK. No, just once. Once you do it, that's the default units for your 3ds Max whenever you open it. Now the other thing we need to do, and this one's a bit weird, right click on any of these snaps buttons, the little magnets up here. All these buttons, these are all snaps. But right click on any of them. Go to the home grid. And let's do grid space every 1 meter. Meaning one of those boxes on the grid will be 1 meter. So now we can see my box is actually massive, because there's the grid size down there. Is that okay for everyone? Right click on any of the snaps here, home grid, make sure the grid space is 1 meter.
Just to make sure that the unit setup and the system unit setup is just 1 unit equals 1 meter.
Customize unit setup, system unit setup, 1 unit, 1 meter. That's nice that it does that for you. You used to have to change it from inches to meters. So that's handy that it does it for you there. So we can see that actually, now that I've set it up so this grid box is 1 meter, I can tell that this is far too big, this box. So if I bring that to Unity, by default, it's going to be massive, right? So I don't want to do that. So on the modify panel, I can modify stuff about the box. So length, I'm going to make this just easy, 1 by 1 by 1. Simple, easy. One by 1 by 1. Now this is also with the box where I can add more polygons just by default. So I can, in these, I either put a number in here or go up on this. And you can see it's adding more segments. Okay, so it's adding more polygons. So remember that thing I was saying, if you want a curve, you need segments, you need like edges. Now, don't be stupid about this, because I could add 100 segments here. Let me turn off the wireframe. It looks exactly the same, because it's no curves, all right? So usually, if you're adding segments, they should be there for a reason. So if I want to have a curve, I need segments, because I need to have that curve. If it's completely flat, there's very little point to have segments. There's exceptions to this rule. Sometimes you need to have stuff there, but most of the time, why have segments if you're not actually going to use them for anything? So as you can see, that box, there's no difference. So let me put that back to 1. And for now, we're just going to do 1 by 1 by 1. Just to make it easy. We're working with this very simple thing. All right, so now my box is like all the way over here. I want to put it in the center just so it's easier to deal with. There is a toggle up here, which is a snaps toggle. You can also hit S. If you right click on the snaps toggle, it tells you what it does. So by default, it will snap to grid points. Okay, so it's going to snap to any, see the way when I hover over the grid, it's snapping onto the grid. But I can snap to a bunch of other different things. But for now, set it as grid points. meaning if I click and drag this box, it will snap to the center grid point. Is that working okay for everyone? Or are you not able to do that?
I don't have the arrows automatic.
Okay, sorry, I've completely forgot. So these arrows, these are for movement. These are up here. I was going to go over these now. These are the most important shortcuts you will use in 3ds Max. So W is for move, E is rotate, see the way it's rotating, R is for scale. So for each of these, they work in 3 axes because we're a 3D model. If you hover over any of the axes, see like the arrow, it highlights. It means if I click and drag, I only move in that axis. If I hover over the square, it moves in those 2 axes. And if I go in the center, do whatever I want. The same with rotate, that's E. Rotate in 1 axis only. If I click in the middle, it rotates around in all the axes. Same with scale. Scale in 1 axis, scale in 2 axes, or 3 axis scale. Okay? So W, E, R. Remember those. Do not go back up here and select and go back down because it's going to take so long. It's going to be the most common thing you do is moving between moving and scaling and rotating, moving, scale, rotate. So just make sure you memorize those. W, E, and R. Okay. So W was to move, S to snap, and then we snapped it to the center grid. So far, so good. Okay, so it's in the center grid now. Notice though, when I select it, you see the way that it's on the bottom, the selection point, it's on the bottom. So that is what we call the pivot point. This is also really important 3ds Max. The pivot point controls where you move something around from, where it rotates from. So you can see when I rotate, it rotates around the pivot point. And in Unity, when I spawn this object, it'll also spawn from the pivot point. So because the pivot point is at the bottom of that item, so it's like right here, when I spawn it, it will spawn from the bottom like that. If my pivot point was in the center, if this is the floor, it would spawn in the center. So sometimes you want that to happen. Sometimes you like a tree root maybe. You might want the pivot point a bit higher than the roots. So when it spawns, the roots are in the ground. So it just depends what you're doing. But that's something called a pivot point. To affect the pivot point, it's this one. Middle, this one here. And you can do affect pivot only. And with that, you see the way it has an extra arrow now? You can manually move the pivot point. So I could have it here if I wanted to, if I'm dumb. If I turn that off, now when I rotate, the object rotates around that pivot point. You can also center to the object. You can do a bunch of different align to a different object. But I will leave it as it is because it's fine below because it is going to be a box. I want it to be at the bottom. Center to pivot is literally a thing here. Center to object. I don't want it to center to object though. If you want to, it's fine. If we're just testing, so it's fine if you do. I want to be able to spawn it so it's like sitting on the ground. Okay, all good so far. Okay, we've done all the basic setup stuff. I know there's a lot, but we only need to learn this once. So, this is great. Got a box. Fantastic. But obviously it doesn't look like what I... Like, see the way the crate has like an indentation here? It has like that bevel inwards. Well, no, it's kind of flat, but I want it to look like it has a bevel inwards. And I want it to look... Maybe let's put this as well. Let's put like a little bar across it maybe as well. So I want that. So by default, it's just a box. I don't want that. So I need to now edit it. I can't edit it right now. So I can only like scale, rotate, etc. by default. To edit it, I need to go to the modify panel again. And this is the power of 3ds Max as opposed to, I guess, like Maya. It's a bit handier in the sense that it has these things called modifiers. Maya has like history. I'm not sure what Blender has, but modifiers are good because they can add modifiers and they can be stacked. So any modifier on top of something will affect everything below it. So I need to add a modifier. I click on the list. edit poly. Edit poly here. Edit mesh is an older version of edit poly. And edit patch is the same older version. We want edit poly. Edit poly will allow me to edit the polygons. So if I click on edit poly, my modify panel now changes. And I have a bunch of stuff here. I actually have loads of stuff if I scroll down. So usually when I'm in edit poly, I like to go to the corner here and drag this out so it goes into 2 panels, just so I can see all the panels at once. Okay, everyone okay with that? You get edit poly? Good stuff. All right, so in edit poly mode, you now have this option, selection options. So remember I was talking about vertices and edges and borders and whatever. Vertex, now I can select individual vertices and I can now move them. So this is where I get deformation now happening. And this is what I was telling you about. With like a quad, deformation isn't as bad, but if we get an n-gon, it'll get even worse. Okay, so that is a vertex. Then we have edges, where we literally select edges. A polygon face, so you select the full face. And then the whole element, I only have one element, but if I had other little bits, I would be able to select the other little bits. So just get used to that for a sec. Do notice, for example, a vertex is an infinite point, so if I rotate it, nothing happens. But if I rotate a polygon face, it does do stuff. So this is why I'm like, remember your shortcuts, because you're not going to want to be like, click, okay, now I need to move that, and I'm going to move that, and I'm going to rotate it. So just use WER, it's much easier. Control Z to undo. You can also click and drag to select multiple vertices or multiple whatever, and move them all at once. Scale them all at once, whatever. So just mess around with that for a couple minutes. Let's get used to. And again, this is why I don't want to add too many segments, because if I add too many segments, I now need to deal with a bunch of different segments. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I will be doing a what I just showed, because when I was like schooling Ole, I will have a polygon select. I'm just gonna do it on 1 to show you. And what I can do with a polygon select, I can do these things here where it says edit polygons. Notice that changes when I'm on different types of selection mode. It changes the type of options that I have, because obviously I can inset a polygon, but I can't inset a vertex. It's an infinite point. So let's say I want to do this inset. I can click and drag to manually do it, which is a bit difficult. So that's a manual version. Or anytime you see a little square beside it, there's always the settings, which gives you fine control. So if I click on the square, this gives me fine control. And I can control the amounts that it insets by, either by tapping the little arrow buttons, or I can type in the field. And then I can hit the tick button to apply. And now what's nice about that is if I click on another polygon and hit the settings button again, it by default applies the same thing. Okay, so I have a guaranteed perfect exact same same setting. But there's an even better way, which is I can select everything, click and drag to make sure I've selected everything. Again, hit the settings button and see this button here which says by polygon or by group. Make sure this is by polygon, meaning it will inset each individual polygon. If I do it by group, that means if I have a bunch of polygons selected, it'll inset them all as a group. But I want to do, because I'll show you what happens. If I do it by group, it's just not going to work. Okay, so I want to do it by polygon. And now I can individually, I can tweak how much I want to inset by, and it will apply to all of the polygons individually. Hit tick to apply, done. Okay? Again, if I hit F4, notice that it doesn't. It's just created extra polygons, but it hasn't created any geometry depth, so it doesn't look any different yet. For that, we need to do this extrude here. Again, I can click and drag to manually do it, or I can hit the little settings button and specifically edit. Tick to apply, done, box, happy, finished. Pass over. Can see you. Yeah, good question. So there's two ways. So I could go in and like create cuts and extrude that out and stuff like. I can do that. That's fine. Honestly, if it were me, which it is, and I'm lazy, I'm gonna create another box. So that's just the bar. I'm lit. Yeah. So let's put it there. Oh, sorry. Let's rotate that. What do you mean?
Like have it on all those different pages.
Yeah, so I won't be able to, like, I'd have to manually go and put it. But I'll show that now in a sec. So let's say, so I want this at a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to hit A, or you can click this button here, and that will snap angles. So by default, when I move, you see the way it's showing me those numbers? Those are the degrees it's rotating by. If I hit A, it will snap. And I want it as a perfect 45-degree angle. Let me just put the box there. And I can extend the height as well. Like so. Okay, I'm only going to make one of these. Well, why, man? Because I have to do the unwrap on it. So remember, like we're talking about the unwrap to make sure it's textured. I only want to do that once. Unwrapping is a pain. So I only want to do that once. After I'm finished unwrapping, I can then go in and like duplicate it again. And it will have its unwrap already there. So I don't need to, if I did 6 of them, I would have to now unwrap 6 individual planks of wood. I don't want to do that. They're all going to be the same plank of wood. So I might as well just do one. Later, when I finish unwrapping, I'll duplicate them. Is that okay? I'll also keep them as, should I keep them as separate? No, I won't keep them as separate. I'll attach them. So again, in the edit poly, if I want to attach something else, here is the attach button. Click on attach, click on that box. Now it is a different element of that same object. There's still only one object in the Scene Explorer, but if I go to the element, it's now a separate element. Okie doke? Okay, I'm just going to move it out as well so that I can see it, so I can unwrap it easier. Because when you're unwrapping, you need to see like all parts of it. I don't really. You can do it in there, but it's just more of a pain. Okay, that's the box modeled. Super easy, much easier than the chicken fillet roll. We will take a little break and then we'll come back and we'll do unwrapping. Need to know. Okay, so customize preferences. Scene undo levels. That is how many undos it will remember. Make that 500. No, should be fine.
What's the max?
And then I don't know what the max is.
Sorry, what was the
General, like customize preferences, and then scene undo levels 500. Is 500 the max? Is it? Oh, yes. I think yes. And then under files as well, we have auto backup. See where it says auto backup here? Under files. You don't have to have this, but you can. So it will say the number of backup files, mine is on 10, and then backup interval is like how often it backs up. I have it on 15. I probably should change that to 10. Now it is annoying because it will slow down everything when it does back up. So don't do it like every minute because it'll literally keep saving. And then when you're done, hit OK. So customize, preferences, general, scene undo levels, 500. and then files, auto backup. I would do every 10 minutes. Okay. So we are going back to this. Does anyone need me to chill for a bit while they're catching up? We're okay? Okay, good. So we have the model done. In terms of the geometry, it's all done, ready to go. Because I remember I'm going to duplicate that plank, and I don't need to make anything else in here. So all I need now is to unwrap this so that I can add textures to it. Let me show you what happens if I just add on any old texture. So I want a, let's see, for the crate, let's make it wooden. And then should we do like a metal borders? No. Yeah, let's do that. So let's do wood first. Okay, I don't know what I expected. Wood, texture, stylize. Cool, so I have like some stuff here which is like pretty good. Obviously, ideally you would create this yourselves or get an open source one, but for today, I'm just gonna grab something that looks nice. And that looks really nice. I wish I could find the original one. Okay, that's pretty nice. So let's see if I can find a higher resolution version of this. No, dang it. How big can I get this? Copy image. I'm going to open up Photoshop. See how big this is. Okay, so it's quite small. 564 by 564. I'm going to try to up-res this. I don't know if Photoshop's pretty good, so I'll try. Image size, I'm going to go to, if you remember from first year, resolution 72 pixels per inch. I'm going to try to make this 1024 by 1024. Should be big enough. Let's see, let's do a bicubic smoother, enlargement. It's not too bad. Not too bad, not too bad, not too bad. Okay, so I have this, and then let's go find a metal border. Metal stylized. So I'm working backwards. Nowadays, what we usually do is we create the geometry, we do the unwrap, and then we texture. What I'm doing is the old school way, like really, really old school before we did all that. The reason why I'm doing that is hopefully so you understand how it works and where the placement of it works. So I'm going to try and find stylized metal. That would be nice if I could find a flat version of that. Oh, dang it. Stylized texture. Okay, whatever. I'm just going to use this one. Copy the image. Oh, this morning. Maybe that one. Copy image. I'm going to paste that here as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the wood smaller. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try and take these areas and use the wood texture for them. And then I'm going to, for the outside, these will be using the metal areas. So that's kind of why I've made the border around it like that. Okay. Hopefully this will make sense when we see it. So I'm going to save as PNG. New asset design 2022 23. Which 2022? Yeah, right. Create texture. I need to export it as a PNG. Oh, did I save as a PNG? PNG. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you what happens if I do apply that material right now. Normally we wouldn't apply the material in Max, but just so I can see how it looks like, I'm going to apply it here. So to apply it here, just hit M, the letter M. It will show up this material mode. If it doesn't look like this, if it looks like that, this thingy, don't panic. Just go to Modes, Compact Material Editor. So this is kind of like the materials in Unity. I just want to edit them to have like to have that texture. So if I scroll down, remember I was saying like there's different names for the same thing. So the albedo is here. It's called base color. Right, so it's the same as diffuse. It's the same as albedo. It's here. It's called base color. I want to click on I think this. Yeah, here. The little square besides the because I can change the color, but that will just be like a whole color. But I want to click here to get a map, and I'm going to look for bitmap here. A bitmap is an old word for an image. Any PNG or JPEG or whatever, they're all bitmaps. So click on bitmap, okay, and I go find my image just so I can test it. Where did it go? Desktop. Okay, so you can see there, it's applied. All I need to do is drag and drop onto this. And you see the way it's not, it's like it's all messed up. And that's because it's not unwrapped yet. Okay, so if let me just make a brand new crate just to show you. So that's a default crate. If I use the same material, that works a bit better because that's the default unwrap. On the default unwrap, each face like just takes the entire texture. If I do the same with the sphere, by default, it just unwraps the whole thing around it. It's like when you are in Unity and you make a primitive, like a cube or a sphere or a capsule, they're literally the same. They're unwrapped default the same way. Which is great if I'm only using a box, but I'm not. I have a crate now. It's got all sorts of stuff on it. So I need to tell it to unwrap properly. Do I need to go over any of that? Are we okay? Yeah, so M for the material. Just select any of the materials, doesn't matter which one. Let's go back up. I need to make sure where it says base color, click on there, go to bitmap, and then find my image. You just need to drag it onto the model. Okay. You all good so far? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. To ignore it. Well, I want the diagonal support to use the wood block. Yeah, so I do actually want it. It's just using the entire texture, which I don't want. So, and yes, I can give it a different material. Then you're starting to get into something called multi-materials. So one object will have multiple materials. You often see that in main characters. So like the face will be its own material because it's a lot more detailed. Clothes will be another material. but we're not going to do something that crazy today. We're just going to do one material. The wood parts, like the center, I'm going to try to make these parts wood, the outer parts metal, the entire plank will be all wooden. Okay, and we'll hopefully see how we do that. So what I need to do, can I continue or should I pause there? Okay, I pause. So this is very, very, very important. This happens every year, and everyone forgets this, and then they cry, and then they're sad, and stuff don't work, and then they come back and they ask, and it's the same problem. And to be fair, this is stupid of 3ds Max, but it is what it does. So you know the way I have a selection here, so I'm able to select stuff, right? If I have a modifier, so I'm going to do the unwrap modifier, which is what we need, unwrap UVW. If I have a selection, it means that the unwrap UVW the modifier will only be applied on the selection that I'm selecting. Okay? Which sometimes I want to do. Sometimes I only want to unwrap this one polygon or this area. So that's why it does that. It allows me to select something, and then the next modifier I apply will only apply to that area. Here's the problem. Let me delete that one. Let's say I have a selection on, so it's selecting something, but then I forget I don't select anything. Now when I apply the unwrap UVW, but why no work? Because 3ds Max thinks I'm selecting nothing, and on purpose wants to apply my modifier to nothing. So sometimes you'll have issues when we go to animating, when we go to skinning, because of this. And you can see it there. It shows you there's like a little, see that little square? It's showing you it has a selection. And it won't work correctly if you have a selection. So you just need to remember, before I add something else, make sure you turn off your selections. Okay? Very, very, very important. It will happen to you. It still happens to me sometimes. I still forget. But so don't stress. But if that happens, that's probably why. So I have no selection on. I want unwrap UVW. That is my modifier. Now you see the way it's all green there? That's all correct. It is selecting everything in here, and it knows I want to unwrap. Okay? Here's going to be slightly complicated, but we should be okay. Now we still have selections here. Vertex. We still have edge selections. Oops, let me turn on the wireframe. We still have edge selections, and we still have polygon selections. But now we're doing them not to modify. I can't like move this anymore. I can't rotate this anymore. I'm not editing the polygon now. I'm editing the UV unwrap. These green lines, all these green lines, this is the original default map lines that 3ds Max applies. It's when I create a box, by default it has those green lines. I don't care about them. So on the right hand side here, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to turn off display map seams. I don't care about them. I don't need my default lines because I'm going to make new seams. Let me just do one polygon at a time just to make it easy. So I'm clicking on this polygon, right? Select, click on this polygon. Up here, there's something called a UV editor. I'm going to click on UV editor, and you can see this is that polygon, and there's this square here. That square, let me just move it out of the way. You see the way it's connected? It's got stuff stuck to it. That's because that polygon is connected like here. This connection, it's this little ones here, see? They're like these edges. So by default, all the polygons are meshed together. They are connected to each other. They don't know which part I want to like move over here, move over there. 3ds Max doesn't know. As far as 3ds Max knows, there's a bunch of polygons. Here's a texture. I don't know where you want to put stuff. So we need to tell them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick planar map. That should just cut it out. So you see it's by itself now. A quick planar map is this one, and it just like whatever I'm selecting, it will cut it out. And now I have it as a separate piece. I know this is a bit confusing. Can you see it moving as I move around the textures? So this is the confusing part. This area are where the UV coordinates are. Right now it's a checkerboard. So I don't know what I'm doing. If I click up here, checker pattern, I should be able to grab the crate. You see that's that crate texture. Let me zoom in. So now this makes a lot more sense. So if I grab this polygon, scale it down in here, I want to take the wooden part, move it there. You can see that in here, now it's only using the wooden part. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know it's really weird.
How did you look at mine?
Huh?
The menu.
UV editor. So what I'm essentially what I'm doing is I'm selecting that individual polygon. I'm separating it. That's what the quick planar map was doing, meaning it's not connected to any other polygons now. This area is the texture area, and I'm telling it for this polygon, for that specific polygon, only use this texture area. Okay, don't use the entire texture area. I can do anything I want. I can do like I can make it really small, and I can say only use this upper area here, and it's only going to use that tiny upper area. I can do that as well, but in this case, I want it to be that entire wooden area right here. Are we entirely certain this makes sense? Huh? It's very confusing, and that's why I said unwrapping is one of the most difficult. Yeah. That's the concept of what's happening, yes. And later on, we're going to do a different method, which is when we take the polygons, we're just like putting them on the map. We don't have any texture, and it's backwards. We're going to apply the texture to that area. But for now, all we need to care about is we have this image already, and we're telling that polygon, you look at this part of the image and take that part of the image to display. That's all we're doing. Let me do a separate part which maybe will help to make sense. So I'm going to take this entire area here, this entire like border, and you see when I select it in the UV editor, it only shows us like a tiny squish like square, and that's why it's so stretched. You can see the stretching on the actual texture because this entire polygon, this side here, is squished in there. So it's only taking like a few pixels and that's stretching it out. So what I can do, I'll do the same thing, quick planar map over here, quick planar map, and now it's like taking a snapshot. And if you look at it, now it looks like it's taking all the metal bits. Does that make sense? Okay. What a quick planar map does is, whenever I'm selecting something, a bunch of polygons or one polygon, whatever it is, let's say I'm selecting this entire area. A planar map just takes like a picture, a flat picture, and goes like, oh, okay, here's a flat picture of the polygon. That works very well for something like this, where it's a box, it's literally a flat piece. So I select that and I go, planar map that for me. It takes a flat picture of those polygons, and then I can just move them. It doesn't work as well if you imagine if I like model my face, and I did a quick planar map of my face. I have depth in the face, but a planar map won't do that. It'll like squish everything. So it'll be like a flat thing. It won't work that well. But it works very well for this. Okay. So this works great. Let's have a look at this piece now. So that's just one little section here, the front section. Again, quick planar map, and now I have this like rectangular front piece. The problem I have here is that it's diagonal because the model is diagonal. I really should have kept it up straight, but it's fine. I can scale it down so it fits in. It's diagonal, so you can see the wood's going the wrong way, but I just need to rotate it then. So rotate, and then scale it back down so it fits. Does that make sense? Cool. So there it is, the wooden piece there. Okay. You'll also notice whenever I'm selecting something, it's confusing because it like has this. All the other polygons are still being displayed, so it is a bit annoying. So what I can do is display only selected polygons down here. So it will only display my selected polygons. Where is it? Alternatively, the other option I like to do is select everything, just move it to the side. So that's all the polygons here, and then just slowly move them back in, if that makes sense. So everything that's here is only the ones that I've already unwrapped. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I basically moved all the polygons out and then I'm slowly putting them back in to exactly where I want them. Because by default, they're all like jumbled in here. This one's here. Let's take this bit so it's a bit more detailed. There we go. Very nice. Does that make sense so far? On here? It's right here. Yeah. Sorry, what's the question?
You said that you should have had the extra funky like upright, as opposed to like rotating it in the editor.
It's not wrong. It just means that I had to go rotate maybe the editor. That's all. If I was going to be very efficient, let's say I was modeling in a huge pipeline for AAA Studio, and I'm the modeler, and oh sorry, I'm the modeler. I would probably model that. I just have that straight up, so it's just easier for the unwrapper, and then it's easier for the rigger. It's not a big deal. It's just slightly easier. It's just nice. Because now I need to do the same. Click on this, and I need to rotate that bit again. So where's my quick planar map? And then it's like rotated, so I need to like rotate it. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just a little bit annoying. Now they're not going to be exactly a wraparound, if that makes sense. As in the front, I'm doing the front separately, the side separately, and then the in-between sides. Let me show you. So if I click on this, quick planar map that, scroll that down. It doesn't exactly match, if that makes sense. See, like there's like a cut here. It doesn't wrap around that well. So there's two ways around this. Either I can manually move it in to try and like make them match up and stuff so that they do wrap around, or there's an alternative unwrap method that we'll look at later on. And when you're using unwraps, multiple polygons can use the same area. That's fine. And remember the example of the goggles, both sides were using the same texture area, so it's okay if I like put loads of polygons on top of each other. They'll just keep using that same texture area. That's fine. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is try to unwrap this. And so far, we're only doing the quick planar wrap. Should be relatively simple to deal with. I don't remember if I can quick planar all of these. Oh, I can. That's wrong. I also did like a quick one here where I unwrapped each piece individually, then I've overlaid all of them on top of each other, and then I'm just going to like align them all at the same time. Just saves me a bit of time. Forgot to say Alt and select will deselect. Alt and select. Deselect. So we're running out of time. I just want to show you the last little bit, which will be, it will be recorded, or it has been recorded. So I finished unwrapping. I'm happy more or less with my unwrap. Really shouldn't have changed that. I shouldn't have chosen this texture, but it's fine because I can edit the texture and it will update automatically. The unwrap is already done. Remember what I said about this one plank, and I can duplicate this. So I've already unwrapped everything. What I need to do is add another modifier, and I can add an edit poly modifier again. So I'm editing again another edit poly, select the element, and I can now start duplicating this. Shift should duplicate. Shift and drag. Is it all shift? Oh, they changed it. Control shift. Oh, they changed it. I forgot what shift. What is duplicating then? Dang it. Does it change from 3ds Max 22 to 23. Drag, duplicate this as, yeah, shift clone. Oh, what the heck? Control shift to clone drag. Ah, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, they changed because it used to be shift. Control shift. And I can also control shift multiple objects. So I can duplicate these, and I want to duplicate the elements. Done. And when I'm finished duplicating all of that, first of all, save my file. And make sure you all save as well. Always remember to save. And then next week we'll look at exporting this for Unity and maybe messing around with some of the maps. But we should leave it there for today.